Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning to our Sangha members in attendance and friends in attendance. And for those of you who are joining us on the YouTube live stream, welcome to this morning's Gotan service. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ralph Honda, and I'll be chairing the service today. And thank you. We continue to follow the temple's protocols for in-person gatherings, which are limited seating capacity, along with no incense burning, and thank you for wearing your masks in the Hondo. Now, during the month of May, there are many events that are commemorated with observances, including, I think on May 5th, we observed Cinco de Mayo, and also Boys' Day in Japan. Coming up on May 30th will be Memorial Day commemoration. And on May 21st, we will commemorate the birth of Shinran Shonin, the founder of our Jodo Shinshu School of Buddhism. Shinran was born 849 years ago in the year 1173. So today is the day that we celebrate his Shinran's birth. Today's service is being officiated by Reverend Smitty and assisted by Reverend Laverne. And thank you to Reverend Laverne for ringing the concho, the calling bell for the start of the service. Today we will have a guest speaker, Reverend Dr. Todd Tsuchiya of the Twin Cities Buddhist Sangha in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And he will deliver a pre-recorded Dharma message for both the Dharma School and for the adults. We will now begin the service with the chanting of the Sambujo, led by Smitty Sensei, and Sambujo can be found on page 21 of the service book.
Ujo Midan Nyorai Niudo Jo San Ge Ra San Ge Ra Aku Pujo Jiponyorai Niudo Jo San Ge Ra Aku Gasho Namandab 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 Namandab.
Thank you. And now Smitty Sensei will lead the Hyo Byakumon, or the intentions of service, with silent meditation. And then that'll be followed by the sutra chanting of the Jusei Ge on page 35.
Gasho. Today we gather to observe Gotane, the birth of Shinran Shonin, the founder of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, the true Pure Land school. Shinran was born May 21st, 1163 in Hino near Kyoto to Lord and Lady Arnori Hino, and was named Matsuwaka Maro. He was ordained at Shoran-in at age 9 and diligently studied Buddhist sutras and ritual on Mount Hiei. Although Shinran lived a life as a monk for 20 years, he could not find enlightenment in that setting or that perfect environment. He left Mount Hiei and met a wonderful teacher named Honin Shonin, who was teaching that the Dharma can be received whether one is a monk or a lay person. The lifestyle one lived did not matter as much as having the right attitude and listening and receiving the teaching. Honin taught Shinran that the Dharma is received and that we must simply open our hearts and minds to it in gratitude. Shinran discovered this way of gratitude, a way of humility, through Honin's compassionate teaching. The light of the Dharma had finally permeated Shinran's heart and mind, illuminating and penetrating into even the darkest corners of his ego self. Nearly 850 years after his birth, we, along with all other Nembutsu followers, are rejoicing over Shinran's teachings of the vow of Amida Buddha. We express our sincere appreciation for having encountered the Dharma through Shinran Shonin and reaffirm our intent to live the Nembutsu path each day. Namo Amida Butsu. Namandabs, 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 namandabs. If you please join me in chanting Jisege on page 35, which comes from the larger sutra. Gagon chosegan ishimu jodo shigan fumanzok sefujo shogak gao muryoko fuidai seshu fusai shobingu sefujo shogak gashi jobundo myosho chojipo kukyo mishomon sefujo shogak ryokujin shonen joe shubongyo shigumu jodo isho tenin shi jinriki endai ko fusho musaido shoujo san kumyo kosai shuyakunan kaihichi egen meshikon moan hesoku sho akudo tsudan zen shumon koso jo manzok iorojipo nichigan chujuki tenko onpugen ishukai hozo koseku doku ho jodai shuchu seppo shishiku kuyo isai but gusoku shutoku hon gan e shinjo man toku isan gai o nyobuten mugechi tsudan mihu sho gangaku erik toshi sai shoson shiganya koka daisen okando koku shotenin to uchin myoke namandavu Namandabu, 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 Yanishiku Yodo Seisai Dohon Bodai Shin Ojo An Rako. Gasho, namandabs, 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 namandabs.
Thank you. At this time, we will have the representatives come up for Gasho Nembutsu offering, and the musical background will be played by guitarist Robert Yamamoto. Representing the Dharma School staff, Sharon Sasaki. From the Dharma School students, Arturo Rubio Jr. Sangha teens, Paulina Kova Rubius. Junior YBA, Andrea Kova Rubius. The Young Adult Buddhist Association, Kimberly Cruz. Adult Buddhist Association, Greg Yonakura. Buddhist Women's Association, Susan Moribe. Taiko, the Koga family. Donna Group, Arturo Rubio. Komon, Joyce Teague. And from the Buddhist temple, Luan Lee. Thank you. Will everyone please rise for the singing of the gatha Shinran Sama on page 141, and that will be followed by the three treasures on page 91. Will everyone please rise for the singing of the gatha Shinran Sama on page 141, and that will be followed by the three treasures on page 91. Yokare maru asa no muado hataraku te no rina awase tsutsu namo amida butsu tonoreba Shin-san sama wa nikoyaka ni watashi no tono irashashi hirame fuyo oshi no kage arashi ni kiete mo kakurete mo namo amida butsu onareba shinzan sama wa watashi no yuku te ni kasasareru kono yo no hani mo akekareti somishi inochi o nagekaroki namo amida butsu tonareba shinran sama wa yori no tote watashi no te o tori ayumareru. Three Treasures is on page 91. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken ourselves our supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Gasho, Namo Amitabs, Namo Amitabs, Namo Amitabs, Namo Amitabs, Namo Amitabs. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'd like to call upon Smitty Sensei, who will introduce our guest speaker today for the Dharma School.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see so many folks here today in person at Temple, and I'm sure we'll have even more who get to watch the video at some point when they're able to. So today, our guest speaker for Gotane is Reverend Dr. Todd Tsuchiya, and he's a Tokudo minister's assistant at the Twin Cities Buddhist Sangha. So Reverend Todd was born and raised in Minnesota, and he has a unique former occupation that may sound familiar to many of us here at the Buddhist Temple of San Diego. He's a retired dentist. And in case you didn't know a whole lot about the state of Minnesota, the area known as Twin Cities encompasses the state's two largest cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul. So along with Reverend Todd, Minneapolis's other claim to fame, anybody know? Any guesses? It was the setting for the Mary Tyler Moore Show. For those of you old enough to remember the 1970s classic sitcom, or those of you who watch reruns on whatever platform you like to watch reruns of old TV shows. So Reverend Todd studied economics and dentistry at the University of Minnesota and, of course, Twin Cities, where he received his DDS degree in 1987, and he practiced dentistry in the Twin Cities area for 27 years at the Bassett Creek Dental Clinic before he retired in 2017. And I was very fortunate enough to be a classmate of Reverend Todd's at the Institute of Buddhist Studies, and so I had an opportunity to study together with him for several years. And it was from IBS that Reverend Todd received a Master's of Divinity degree in 2020. And I was also fortunate to receive Tokudo ordination along with Reverend Todd in 2019. He was my group leader during that time at the Nishiyama Betsuin in Kyoto. And there were times when, you know, it's a rather rigorous, difficult training, and we were all seriously preparing, and I can't even imagine what Shinran had gone through when he was a young person going through all his ritual training and everything on Mount Hiei. But we were there, you know, doing our best in Kyoto. And I would look at him, and he would be wearing his Japanese-style robes with the white underrobe, and then the black robe on top, and the Japanese-style footwear, the tabi socks, and he had his head shaved, as many of us did, in preparation for having the ritual shaving done for Tokudo. And he had these big bushy eyebrows, and he's, you know, 6 foot something, so a rather tall stature, and that impressive frame. And I just looked at him, and he looked to me like the pictures of Shinran Shonin. And it made him smile and laugh despite the seriousness of our training when I would tell him that. So it was some levity sometimes when we were all being very, very serious about what we were doing. So maybe that's what made me think of inviting Reverend Todd to speak at our Gotane, or Shinran's birthday service today. And then, although his hair has grown back like mine has, I still picture him looking stern and serious, like those drawings of Shinran you may have seen, until that big Minnesota smile breaks across his face and he just cracks up And then I wondered, did Shinran ever laugh like that? I sure hope so, because he sure seemed to live life wonderfully and appreciate things too. So I wish he could have been here in person, because I know many of you haven't had an opportunity to meet some of these newer ministers that we have in BCA. But Reverend Todd will be joining us today via video to deliver his Dharma message. So here is Reverend Dr. Todd Tsuchiya.
Thank you, Reverend Smitty, for inviting me to speak with the Dharma School students today for your Gotan, the celebration of the birth of the founder of our tradition, Shinran Shonin. And I'm sorry I'm not able to be with you in person. Unfortunately, I'm just a small picture pre-recorded on the upper corner of your screen here today. But hopefully I'll be able to visit soon. I would love to visit the Buddhist Temple of San Diego. As Reverend Smitty probably mentioned in her introduction, I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota, which according to Google Maps is 2,000 miles away from your temple. And I'm a member of the Twin Cities Buddhist Sangha. The Twin Cities is in reference to two cities. Twin Cities is not an actual place, but it's in reference to two cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, which are make up the largest metropolitan area in Minnesota. And the two cities, Minneapolis and St. Paul, are separated by the Mississippi River. And we're a fellowship in the BCA. And we don't have a temple building, so I'm speaking to you in front of my home Butsudan, which is right behind me. Minnesota is home, I guess, known as the land of 10,000 lakes. So I wanted to show you a beautiful view of our downtown from one of the urban lakes in our region. But of course, there's winter too, which I'm sure you've heard a lot about if you haven't visited us during that time. And it can sometimes look like this. And that picture on the left, yep, that's me. Now I asked Smitty Sensei about your Dharma School group and was happy to hear that you have many students. You have to understand, I come from a very small Sangha. When I was in my teens, I was often the only young person at the service. So when a visiting minister would be asked to give a message to the Dharma School first, like I'm doing today, they would stand right in front of me and talk directly at me. It was always very uncomfortable, mostly because I always knew I had to pay attention and be on my best behavior. So to reenact that awkwardness, what I'm going to do is speak directly to you, Juliana and Jaden Cruz. First of all, I'm glad that you combed your hair this morning for all of us. Or did you? But I'd like to ask you if you could do me a favor before I start. Can you ask your dad to set a good example for all the kids by getting off of his phone playing Clash of Clans? Yeah, thanks. Okay, I know that was a little weird. And since I pre-recorded this, don't worry, I'm not really looking right at your family. But today is Gotan, where we recognize and commemorate Shinran Shonin's birth 849 years ago and express our gratitude for his teachings. So go ahead and check the number, Juliana and Jaden. I did the math. I like to start by reading a passage from the Kyogyo Shinsho in the chapter on practice, where Shinran is quoting from the Sutra of the Immeasurable Pure Enlightenment of Equality. So please join me in Gassho. Rare is it to obtain human life and difficult to encounter a Buddha's appearance in the world. Hard is it to attain the wisdom of entrusting. Should you meet with and hear this teaching, pursue it with diligence. Namo Amida Butsu, Naman Dabutsu, Naman Dabutsu, Naman Dabutsu, Naman Dabutsu. Now, we often recite the three treasures in our temple services, which says, hard is it to be born into human life, now we are living it. So when we celebrate a birthday, a celebration of another year, this comes from the understanding that without all of you, and without so many causes and conditions, we would not be here today. So when we recognize the joy of birth as a rare and wonderful gift, we will naturally extend our gratitude to family and friends and to life itself. And this is the same for Shinran's birthday. And although he's no longer physically present, we're grateful for his birth and his teachings continue to be with us and are an integral part of our lives. So when I was a young Dharma School student, I wondered why we didn't sing happy birthday to Shinran. You know, in my child mind, it made sense. After all, it's his birthday. So it's probably fortunate for all of you that I'm not there in person. Otherwise, we might be singing today. But I think it would be best if we skip the cake and the 849 candles, since I think it would be risk burning down the building. So why do we celebrate birthdays? And why is it important that we get together for birthdays, especially Shinran's birthday today? For me, with my self-centered thinking, I always think about getting gifts. But for all of you who are much wiser, it really is an opportunity to extend our gratitude for the person who is celebrating their birthday. Now, birthdays are a chance to honor and show our appreciation to the individual for what they bring to each of us and to the world. For Shinran, it is important to remember he systematically developed the Nembutsu teaching by compiling the writings of the 7 teachers he identified as important to the tradition. The essence of the teaching is found in his writings in the Kyogyo Shinsho, which I quoted earlier. Now, he made the Dharma accessible to the ordinary person like us. Now, our gratitude is also directed toward the generational history that this represents. So when we celebrate birthdays, we recognize that the joy of birth is a rare and wonderful gift. Now, if we can appreciate it from the perspective of Reverend Akahoshi's teaching of gratitude, it is a celebration that comes from the understanding that without all of you, we would not be here today. So we receive so much from others we know and also from who we don't know. And by recognizing this, we are turning around our awareness and focusing towards others. Now, even though I was joking about my self-centered thinking about gifts, it's usually customary to give a gift for a birthday. So one way to look at gifts is we're given things each year of our growth to function in society. And whether they're new clothes and shoes as we grow, or my favorite gift, socks and underwear, or non-material things like the ever-changing support with our activities and interests. There never seems to be a time on the way to adulthood that we don't require something new, because we're always changing. It is something specific for that person, meaning it is a thoughtful personal gift that has meaning for them. Someone took the time to think specifically about you. Now, unless you're a cat. Now, our cat Mochi prefers the box much more than the gift we just bought for him. But really, that is our human emotions being placed on cats. For him, the box gives him joy, and that is what he wanted. Now, gifts are putting form into something formless. It can be a way to express something that is difficult to put into words. For instance, how do we express our love? How do we express that we care? Now, we just celebrated Mother's Day, and we certainly can't talk about our births without our mothers. And as human beings, our lives begin in the shelter of our mother's care and affection, without which we would not survive. So for Mother's Day, we often give a gift of flowers. I know I did. When we see the flowers, it is important to know that it is not just a pretty and fragrant display, but a symbol of our love and gratitude to our mothers. When I was young, I would make my mother breakfast that day. And she always said it was the best breakfast she had, because it tasted better than it was made when it was made with love of her son. And as we receive a gift, realize it is not just socks and underwear. It is a symbol of the formless. And this is like Amida Buddha. We may think Amida is who we see in pictures and statues, putting formless into form for us to understand. But Amida Buddha is dynamic reality of infinite wisdom and compassion. Amida is the embodiment of the principle of infinite wisdom unfolding as compassion. When we say we are all embraced by the Buddha, it means to be sustained by life within all that is inconceivable. Now, Shinran is no longer physically with us, but his gift giving continues for all of us through his teachings. It is because of Shinran, we have the opportunity to encounter the Nembutsu, the beauty of gratitude that we're able to encounter Amida Buddha through Shinran's guidance. And by listening to the Dharma, by experiencing the primal vow, we are given the gift of Nembutsu. Understanding the Buddha's teaching of interdependency of all things will make it clear that our birth and all births are the result of many causes and conditions. Our birth is the result of many people, and our lives are intertwined with all others. Realizing this, we can see that our own birth is truly a rare and wonderful gift. We have an obligation to live out this life in accordance with the teachings of the Buddha. Namo Amida Butsu acknowledges our awakening to our inclusion in this incredible life process. The practice of Shinshu is to develop the heart and mind to align with the truth that we have received in this life by no effort of our own, through gifts given to us. Now, the voicing of Namo Amida Butsu is both a stimulus and a response to our awakening to the reality of being included as an integral part of this vast universe. So when we celebrate the birth of Shinran Shonin, we're reminded We are the recipients of the gift from Amida through Shinran's teachings. We are expressing our gratitude for what he brought to the world, making it accessible to all of us without exception, giving us the opportunity to encounter the Buddhist teachings. Shinran spread the message that when we encounter the primal vow, we then realize the infinite wisdom and compassion that is always there for us, the power of others that made it possible for us to hear the Dharma. We receive the great treasure ocean of virtues, and it's not something we have to pursue. It is always there. It is always there for us. It is a gift for us throughout our life. So I'd like to close by once again reading a passage from the Kyogyo Shinsho in the chapter on practice, where Shinran is quoting from the Sutra of the Immeasurable Pure Enlightenment of Equality. Please join me in Gassho. Rare is it to obtain human life, and difficult to encounter a Buddha's appearance in the world. Hard is it to attain the wisdom of entrusting. Should you meet with and hear this teaching, pursue it with diligence. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu. So thank you very much, and thank you, Cruz family, for allowing me to give you a little bit of a hard time today.
Well, thank you, Reverend Todd, for sharing your Dharma message from 2,000 miles away in Minnesota. The Dharma certainly resonates with all of us, no matter what the distance is. And so we're so fortunate to be able to hear and listen to the Dharma through Reverend Tsuchiya's message today. And everybody has similar similarities to Shinran because we all have a birthday, and so does Shinran. So thank you very much. Will everyone please rise for the recitation of our pledge? It's the handout that is in the service book. Our pledge is written by the Gomonshu Otani Kojun, the 25th spiritual leader of our Jodo Shinshu tradition. Our pledge: breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall think and act with an open mind. I am like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I shall in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Please join me in Gassho. Namo Amida Butsu, 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 Namo Amida Butsu. Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, I'd like to call upon our temple president, Luann Lee, for words of appreciation.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to today's service and always for your generous support and monetary donations. On behalf of the Buddhist Temple San Diego, we want to thank Reverend Todd Tsuchiya for his meaningful Dharma message via video, making it possible to hear him, again, from so far away in the Twin Cities, Minnesota. Thank you to Sensei Smitty for officiating today's service and to Laverne Sensei for assisting. Appreciation to Yukari Williams for taking care of the flowers and for all that have assisted with the service today. Thank you to Ralph Honda for chairing and for Robert Yamamoto for providing the musical background. And to Laverne Sensei for the Kansho. Thank you to Brevin and Bill for your video expertise, bringing it to people that aren't able to attend. Special thanks to the Biwa, Buddhist Women's Association, for their time to make the chirashi. In the back there, you'll get one when you go home today after the service. Compliments of them for today's offering for the service. I guess it's kind of a birthday cake, but it's rice. So enjoy, and thank you again.
Thank you, Luann. I have several announcements to make. First, over the Memorial Weekend, we will have the activities for Memorial Day services will resume after nearly a 3-year absence. On May 28th, the temple will be conducting cemetery services in the Imperial Valley at the Calexico, El Centro, and Brawley cemeteries. If you'd like to attend the activity, please, you could see me or Laverne Sensei for the trip out to the Imperial Valley. On Sunday, the 29th, will be the Fort Rosecrans Cemetery service at Fort Rosecrans National Cemetery, and Smitty Sensei will conduct that service. On Monday, May 30th, will be the community interfaith service that the temple will host, along with the Pioneer Ocean View United Church of Christ and the San Diego Japanese Christian Church. Everyone is welcome to attend the service at Mount Hope Cemetery that begins at 9:30. And then following that service will be the temple's service at the Cypress View Mausoleum and Mortuary beginning at 11:30. Dharma School has their camp out the weekend of May 27th through the 29th at Paso Picacho campgrounds near Ramona. And you could check with Dharma School staff. Sharon Sasaki has more information on that activity. Of course, our Japanese Cultural Bazaar with the theme It's Back will return on Sunday, June 5th from 11 to 4 p.m. Please support the activities for the bazaar. And if you'd like to pass the word to family members and friends, you can pick up these postcard-sized announcements downstairs in the office. And I believe the temple is looking for volunteers to help out for Friday and Saturday, and of course on Sunday. So if you'd like to sign up for activities to help, there's a Google Doc form online that you can sign up for, or you could put your name down to help in the office. The temple will be having its second Panda Express fundraiser on June 17th. It will be all day, and check the temple website or the Facebook page to get the online code. It'll also appear in the Busei script. So spread the word. It's a nationwide event that will be all day on Friday, June 17th. And the Vista Buddhist Temple BWA will be having their Panda Express fundraiser on Thursday. I believe that there's a flyer on the temple website, so you could check that out and then order your food that way to support the Vista BWA. And then our temple picnic will be on June 19th at Roar Park in Chula Vista. Everyone is invited to that activity. And then the temple golf tournament will be on Sunday, June 26th. Donations and gift cards are being accepted for that event. And then, of course, a lot of our other activities and messages and other news will appear in the June Busei script, which will be available later this month. And of course, as Luann mentioned, please pick up your delicious chirashi that the BWA ladies made. You can pick it up in the back of the hondo after the service. Have I missed any announcements? Oh, Sue? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I'm told that there are a lot of suites downstairs, so if you'd like to join in a little bit of hospitality in the dining room, please, after the service, head downstairs to enjoy your chirashi and have some sweets as well, and coffee and so forth. Okay, this concludes the Dharma School portion of the service. So the Dharma School students are excused to your classes. If you'd like to come forward to do your gasho offering before heading to the class, you're welcome to do so. Our service will now continue with the reading of the recitation of the Vandana and Tea Sarana that can be found on page 96 of the service book and led by Smitty Sensei.
And if everybody could chant all parts along with me, ignoring the part that says leader or sangha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangham saranam gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Kie Butsu. Namo Kie Ho. Namo Gasho, Namo Medabutz, Namo Medabutz, Namandabs, Namandabs, Namandabs.
Thank you. And now we will have the Dharma message as presented by Reverend Dr. Tsuchiya.
So I want to once again thank Reverend Smitty for inviting me to speak with you today for your Gotane, the celebration of our founder Shinran Shonin's birthday. Reverend Smitty and I went through Tokudo together in Kyoto. That Tokudo experience gave me an even greater admiration and respect for Smitty Sensei for persevering and going beyond the physical and mental challenges that the experience put us all through. And I'm proud to call her my friend. You might recall that when we received Tokudo ordination, we had our heads shaved. And both Reverend Smitty and I came back with bald heads. And I think she invited me to speak today as she very kindly said that I looked like Shinran and maybe I could pull it off if I wanted to keep my head shaved. I had to break it to her that I told her, I'm sorry, but she didn't really look anything like Shinran. But as you can see, I've grown my hair back a little bit more and maybe a little bit more like Reverend Akahoshi. So which brings me to another connection I have with the San Diego Temple. I am a retired dentist, and for years, whenever the subject of my being a dentist came up at a BCA gathering, I was always asked, do you know Reverend Akahoshi? He's such a nice guy, and he used to be a dentist. So I feel like I knew a lot about Reverend Akahoshi before I even met him. Well, you'd be happy to know, I finally got to meet Reverend Akahoshi at the Jodo Shinshu Center back when I was at IBS. And if you were wondering, yes, we were able to do our secret dentist handshake with each other. So before I begin, I want to just take a moment to tell you about our Twin Cities Sangha, where I'm from, and why there is a Jodo Shinshu community in Minneapolis. So our Sangha has been in existence since 1946, and it was started as a result of a large number of Nisei soldiers who were stationed at Fort Snelling and Camp Savage here in Minnesota during World War II. And these were US military bases training Japanese American soldiers and translating for the war effort. It originally started at the Presidio in San Francisco, but moved inland for supposed safety reasons. And ironically, this was happening while their families were being imprisoned in concentration camps, often referred to as internment camps. And once released, many of the families of these soldiers decided to move to Minnesota, like my parents. So with the concentration of Japanese Americans here in the Twin Cities, there was a desire to start a Sangha. And with the help of Reverend Kono of the Midwest Buddhist Temple of Chicago, our group started 76 years ago. And I suspect many of you listening today may have had relatives who may have been stationed at Fort Snelling at one point in time. And the bottom photo here, well, the top photos are of the Sangha back in the very early days. And the bottom photo is more contemporary picture prior to the pandemic, when Reverend Dagata, you probably recognize him in the picture as well. He was visiting. So after my talk with the Dharma School students, I'm sure some of you are maybe a little bit on edge, thinking, gosh, I better pay attention today because he might speak to me. Well, don't worry, I can't really see you all since I pre-recorded this, but it does hint maybe at the subject of my talk today. So I'd like to begin with a reading from the Kyogyo Shinsho chapter on Shinjin, where Shinran quotes from the Garland Sutra. So please join me in Gassho. If one constantly entrusts to and reveres the precious Dharma, one never tires of listening to the Buddha's teaching. If one never tires of listening to the Buddha's teaching, one entrusts to the inconceivable working of the Dharma. Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Now, as we are commemorating Shinran's birth on Gotane, it is often customary to reflect on Shinran's life. So I'd like to speak about a particular moment in time in Shinran's life when he was to be ordained. And there's a very famous story of when Shinran became a monk at age 9. He was taken to a temple to be ordained. And this was a difficult time of unrest in history when life was not to be taken for granted. But due to the lateness of the hour, his ordination was postponed until the next day. So Shinran then composed a poem. For those who count on tomorrow, like the fragile cherry blossom, tonight unexpected winds may blow. So he understood, even at that young age, of the uncertainty of the world and that tomorrow is not guaranteed. It's a reminder of the fleeting nature of our existence and emphasizes the urgency of listening to the Dharma and how we should approach our life. I don't know about you, but at that age, at age 9, I don't even think I could make a complete sentence. So earlier I shared my reflections on birthday gifts with the Dharma School students. And I'd like to tell you a little more about Shinran's emphasis on the urgency of listening to the Dharma, but at the same time, a little bit more about my state of Minnesota through a gift I received from my wife on my birthday. So this gift was a print done by a very good friend of ours who is an artist. It is called the Witch Tree, or the Little Cedar Spirit Tree. Now, the artist her name is Hazel, and she's a very good friend of ours. She is a nationally and internationally acclaimed artist, acclaimed as an artist and teacher. And she's in her late 80s now, and for well over 50 years of her career, she's focused a large part of her art on a single tree that's located on the shores of Lake Superior on the Grand Portage Indian Reservation in northern Minnesota. And it is estimated that the tree has been there for over 400 years. The North Shore of Lake Superior in Minnesota is one of the most beautiful places in our state. Minnesota also has a very strong Native American culture, and the tree is located on a Native reservation. She's photographed, painted, and drawn many views of this tree during this time, and she's received considerable acclaim, but also a considerable amount of criticism for what can be interpreted as a limited subject matter in her career. So this is a special tree known by the Native people as the Little Cedar Spirit Tree, also known as the Witch Tree. And the tree is believed to have healing powers, is considered sacred by Native and non-Native people. The tree is on the shores of Lake Superior, which is the largest of the Great Lakes, and the lake was formed by the melting glaciers, so the shores are very rocky. The tree seems to defy nature, growing out of rock, and is precariously perched over the harsh climate of Lake Superior. Native American spirituality speaks about rock, wind, water, and fire as being the basic substances of life. And a poet once said about this tree that these traits are embodied in the tree and its setting. So Hazel says the witch tree is a symbol and living reality of the place, the spirit there, the people, and the creative force of art that springs from the cedar. She says, as an artist, when your magic appears to you, you'll recognize it. And the tree is that magic, the key to my artistic metaphor. More than the spirit tree itself, the metaphor is the journey of life. So to her and the Native community, the tree gives form to the formless, the infinite that is inconceivable. So when I hear her say this, I tend to contextualize it in my own way of understanding and think of it as hearing the call of Amida. If you allow yourself to hear it, to be grasped by the truth, you will recognize it. It is not static, it is dynamic, like the tree itself. Not only has the tree withstood the harsh climate of the rocky cliff, but like Shinran's teaching, also transcends time and space, and not only perseveres, but thrives in whatever climate and location it lives. So I think it would be easy to overlook the dynamic nature of the tree and see it as the same tree there for 400 years. And I think the artists, the critics probably are thinking that way. But each time she sees the tree, she sees it uniquely. The tree is a dynamic, living, breathing thing that is never the same. Each time she sees the tree, she is also different, and the environment is different, whether it's the day's climate or the level of sunshine. The tree not only has form to marvel, but a spiritual presence that is difficult to comprehend. It is form giving rise to formlessness. Now, as we understand interdependence as the idea that nothing comes about from itself, the tree cannot exist without the support of so many other things. What the tree breathes out, we humans take in order to survive, and vice versa. Because of that symbiotic relationship, the tree is really part of us. There's a dynamic oneness. Hazel has the ability to look at this tree visually, functionally, and spiritually as if she sees it for the first time, every time, and it shows in her art. Now, in his book, The Buddha's Wish for the World, the former Monshu, the 24th descendant of Shinran Shonin, he talked about how to listen with the heart. Now, Smitty Sensei referred to this in her New Year's Eve talk last year, and it listed 3 points that relate to our everyday lives. And these days, with our bombardment of social media and easy access to our phones to play Clash of Clans, I know I'm challenged with my listening skills. So this reminds us how deep listening is important in our life as a Jodo Shinshu follower. So first, you should listen as if you're listening for the very first time. And as adults, we typically call upon our preconceived notions and knowledge and don't really look beyond the surface into discovery any longer. If you listen with this thought in mind, no matter how many times we hear or see something, you will always hear or see something new. Secondly, is you should listen as if the message is for you alone. And this talks about making the message meaningful for you. When the minister gives a message about the difficulties of our human condition, when they speak about awkwardly choosing to cheer for the Broncos rather than the Chargers, it's easy to think, this doesn't apply to me. It's really about Jeff. Okay, I may be putting words into Kimberly's mouth, but I hope he's listening. Anyway, he's really talking about me, to you, and really to all of us. Self-reflection is important to making it meaningful for you. And Shinran looked at how the teachings applied to him. It was very personal for him. And third, you should listen as if this is the last time you'll ever do so in your life. We don't know what will happen tomorrow, so we must make the most of today. The opening poem I read by the 9-year-old Shinran stated it best. Well, these 3 points offer wonderful guidance on how to listen to the Dharma and really how to experience the world. Now, Renyo Shonin, the 8th abbot or 8th spiritual leader of our tradition, is quoted in the Goichi Daiki Kikigaki, hearing one teaching repeatedly. After you have gained Shinjin, even when you hear the same teaching again, you should feel as if it was for the first time. People only wish to hear something new. However many times you may hear the same teaching, you ought to think that this is the rare, marvelous teaching you have never heard before. Now, what Renyo is reminding us is that the opportunity to hear the Dharma is a rare opportunity. And that is important to practice deep and sincere listening. That is what my friend Hazel is also saying with her art each time she encounters the spirit tree. So also in the former Monshu's book, he said, when we are filled with our own worries, the voices of others can barely enter our ears. And this is because we are too preoccupied to listen. At such times, stop right there, close your eyes, and open the ears of your heart. When you can sharpen the ears of the heart, things you ordinarily would not hear can be heard. You can now pay attention to the person who has something to ask of you. The voice of the Buddha is the same as this. So I put the painting on a wall where I often sit to think. And each time I look at my new painting, not only do I enjoy its artistic beauty, but it allows me to reflect on the important point that our karmic condition is bringing us to the Dharma. And this will be different each time. And when I understand this, the dynamic nature of her art comes alive. Now, if we approach each encounter and each opportunity to hear the Dharma with a sense of urgency by listening with the ears of the heart, we'll find each day and each encounter more meaningful and with a deeper sense of gratitude. And this is not just a Sunday event at the temple. It is in our daily life interactions. Jodo Shinshu is a lived tradition. And this is Namo Amida Butsu. Deep listening, observing consciously, connecting us in space and time to the world around us and the truth of reality. Now, as we reflect on the life of Shinran and all that we have received as a result of his life, we can see this tree is also telling us about its strength and meaning in its existence, only if we take the time to listen. So please join me in Gasho as I once again read a passage from the Kyogyo Shinsho, the chapter on Shinjin, where Shinran quotes from the Garland Sutra. If one constantly entrusts to and reveres the precious Dharma, one never tires of listening to the Buddha's teaching. If one never tires of listening to the Buddha's teaching, one entrusts to the inconceivable working of the Dharma. Namo Amida Butsu, Naman Butsu, Naman Butsu, Naman Butsu, Naman Butsu. And thank you again for listening today and for allowing me to be with you for Gotane. And once again, thank you again to the Cruz family for being good sports.
Thank you very much, Reverend Todd, for your very profound Dharma message and sharing your thoughts of the gift that you received of the painting of the witch tree, the lone cedar that's found over on Lake Superior, and how the tree parallels to Shinran and our Shin tradition. At this time, will everyone please rise for the Gatha Ondok-san, and that could be found on page 128. Please remain standing for closing meditation. Just practice good, do good for others, without thinking of making yourself known, so that you may gain reward. Really bring benefit to others, gaining nothing for yourself. This is a primary requisite for breaking free of attachment to self. Gasho, Namo Amidabs, Namo Amidabs, Namo Amidabs, Namo Amidabs, Namo Amidabs, Namo Amidabs. Thank you. You may be seated. Well, this concludes our Gotane service for 2022. Thank you very much for your attendance today, and thank you very much to those who are joining us on the Zoom video. And thank you to our guest speaker, Reverend Todd Tsuchiya, for sharing his Dharma message all the way from the Twin Cities. And of course to Smitty Sensei for officiating today, and to Laverne Sensei for assisting, and to all of you for your participation and attendance today. You are all welcome to come up for Gasho offering, and as you exit, please pick up your chirashi otoki and join us for hospitality downstairs in the dining room. Okay, thank you for attending, and have a wonderful day. As you leave, I forgot to mention that our next in-person service will be on Sunday, June 12th. And at that service, we will observe our June Shotsuki Hoyo. Thank you.